So my previous job, I was a sound designer for video games, and I was working on a particular title called NCAA football. And what a lot of people don't know who play these games is when you choose your favorite team, our goal was to have the authentic sounds from those crowds play. So if you're a Gators fan, that was actually a recording that we did at Gainesville, all in surround sound for you to hear all the banter and everything. And the way that we chose which team to go record next was we'd kind of size up the year. What are the great rivalries in the NCAA? What's a hotly contested game that might happen? And in 2011, that situation was the Michigan Wolverines versus the Ohio Buckeyes. And the situation was that the last 7 times that the Wolverines had stacked up against Ohio, they lost. So it was a powder keg situation, and we were like, that's going to be the game to go to. So we get all this recording equipment, we fly to Detroit, we drive down to Ann Arbor, and we take an entire day before the event to wire up Michigan Stadium with 24 mics. We had the entire inner perimeter of the stadium, the outer perimeter up in the scoreboards, everywhere where there's fans. The next morning we wake up, and that stadium is just packed with college fans, and that is one of the coolest environments ever. Even if you're not into football, just the collegiate atmosphere of everybody and their swag and out there tailgate and everything. I mean, it's just a really, really cool vibe. So I checked out the mics, made sure everything was still good, hopped across the street to a broadcast truck that was sharing some space for us to set up our huge recording equipment and everything, and that's where I meet Ohio Mike. Ohio Mike is the guy who's running the broadcast truck, and the minute I walk in there, he's like, so what did you put all those mics up for? And I'm like, I just want to hear 100,000 people absolutely lose their mind. He goes, actually, you're going to have, all those mics are just going to record the sadness of Michigan at the end of this, because this is how it is, right? And I was like, all right. So first quarter goes on, and Michigan, it just comes out of the gate swinging, and it was like, wow, we were getting all these great reactions and everything. Second quarter, Mike goes, this is where Ohio's going to make a comeback, and you're going to see how the rest of this game goes. And he was correct. Ohio did come back and just pulled way ahead of Michigan. So in the headphones, we're hearing this tension and all this stuff and a lot of trash talking, which is great because we want that for our game. So I went over at halftime after Ohio was pulling ahead, and man, you could just feel the tension on the field out there of these two teams. Third quarter comes in, Ohio starts pulling ahead a little bit, and then Michigan comes back with a vengeance. So by the fourth quarter, it was neck and neck, and both of these teams are just going at each other's throats. And it's the most amazing thing to hear all the different channels as you're muting and soloing different things. You've got, people trash talking, you've got the band playing, you've got, people just excited and cheering their team on, and everybody's like, come on, Michigan, you can do this, you can do this. And Ohio totally messes up a couple plays, and Michigan starts to pull ahead, and it starts to become obvious that they're actually going to break this losing streak. And you can just watch the meters on the mixing consoles just crawl their way up, and I was just like, oh my gosh, we're actually going to get this. Ohio Mike's not talking so much trash anymore. He's kind of looking back at us all right. And so finally, the end of the game happens, and that stadium just went absolutely nuclear. I mean, every Michigan fan was just screaming at the top of their lungs, and they're just singing, and just this electrifying energy. And we were like, we can't believe we just captured the most perfect moment in time for a football crowd. And all of a sudden we hear, and we're like, what is that? And we look up at the monitors, and that's all the fans running over our equipment to get onto the field to embrace their team. So I was like, well, I guess that's that. And, pull off the headphones, and I opened up the door to the broadcast truck, and you just felt this wave of energy coming from that stadium, and just the most glorious crowd chant ever. And it's because, in the college world, it's not like NFL, man. These are these people's kids, and they're their family, their friends, their cousins, and all that stuff. It is very, very personal. But to this day, that was the most extraordinary sound I have ever recorded in my career.